Hello, welcome to my podcast. I am May, and today we'll be talking about the Islamic Golden Age. Thank you for actually taking the time to click on this episode. Just a short disclaimer though, this is entirely about history and not at all about religion. So, the Islamic Golden Age started from the 8th century to the 13th century under the Abbasid Empire. But before that, let's do a quick rundown as to how the Islamic Empire became this massive civilization. So, Islam actually started out of nowhere. It just suddenly popped out in the middle of Arabia. It was even rejected at first because who would accept a religion without scriptures or any notable experiences? So, a few years after Islam was established, Muhammad declared war on Mecca, and this war was actually referred to as the Holy War for some reason. He planned to attack a caravan consisting of 1,000 camels. He made alliances with nomadic tribes just for this. This was during 626 CE. And in 630 CE, he was able to capture Mecca successfully despite them knowing Muhammad's plan and having better arsenal. So this is why some sources say that Muhammad was a great general. Before Arabia was unified under the Islamic Empire, they were never really under any empire, so they lived in separate tribes away from all the empirical and religious disputes of the Roman Empire. Arabia was actually stuck in between the Persians and the Byzantines, who are always in dispute, which makes the spread of Islam remarkable in its own way. So, all throughout the Islamic Empire, there were only three caliphates. The first one is the Rashidun Caliphate, which was established after Muhammad's death. It started in 632 CE up until 661. It was led by Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. This caliphate lasted for 29 years, and it continued to expand, stretching into Egypt in the west, Persia in the northeast, and past the Lesser Caucasus Mountains into the Levant and Armenia. Even after the Rashidun Caliphate passed into a new one, the Muslim armies never ceased advancing. The Caliphate took Damascus in 635, which was a major city of the Byzantine Empire. And in 636, there was this thing called the Siege of Jerusalem, where Jerusalem, of course, was captured. And this was a place where Christians do their pilgrimage and was considered a holy land. This was a major step for the fall of the Byzantines. The next one is the Umayyad Caliphate. They moved the capital from Medina to Damascus in 661. Oh, by the way, this caliphate lasted from 661 up until 750. And in the 89 years this caliphate existed, Constantinople was sieged twice. The empire stretched out into the northern Africa all the way to Morocco. They were able to get a hold of Spain, and they also reached the Indus River. They were able to govern it well by appointing, governors to, govern the large masses of land. How do they choose those governors, you may ask? Well, the caliph chooses them. Then, by the 9th century, nearly all the large islands in the Mediterranean became Islamic citadels, including Sicily, Sardinia, Malta, and Crete. The reason why there was a lot of progress during this age was because they allowed the practice of other religions within the empire despite it being literally Islamic, unlike other empires who attempted to unify their religions and cultures with the places they governed. This allowed the preservation of texts and studies of different cultures and knowledge gathered over the times. I actually have this theory that maybe they thought that mixing other religions and cultures into their own would bring some sort of taint upon it. I mean, look at Christianity. There are a lot of pagan influences that normal Christians wouldn't know unless they study the Bible in depth. So, the last caliphate is the Abbasid Caliphate, which lasted from 750 to 1258. This was where the Islamic Golden Age started. They rediscovered and extended the knowledge of the ancient Greeks in astronomy, geography, medicine, mathematics, and philosophy. They were able to assimilate ancient stories and traditions from India, Persia, Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Arabia to create masterpieces such as the 1001 Nights, which is where the story of Aladdin, the genie, came from. In 763, the new capital, which is Baghdad, became the world's largest city and an important cultural and commercial center. So the Islamic Golden Age started under the reign of Abbasid Caliph Harun al-Rashid with the inauguration of the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. So some of the notable achievements during this time was that paper was invented during this period. Paper can absorb ink and it is easier to manufacture than parchment and it is less likely to crack than papyrus. So all the researches they do, they put it on paper and it was preserved over the times. Also, algebra and advertising of the Hindu-Arabic numerals since it's much more useful than Roman numerals. And also, some art, arabesque and geometric art. Arabesque is a repetitive geometrical floral design. Like, it's so beautiful. Look at all the structures. There are also ceramics, glasswork, metalwork, textile, illuminated manuscripts, and woodwork. There are also a bunch of new architectures. They also were able to develop, like, the early scientific method, and they were able to discover a bunch of medical stuff since they kind of know how the organs and the organ systems work. They discovered classical medical knowledge and made new breakthroughs on the topic. Also, they were able to make some proper hospitals. The earliest hospital was built under Caliph Harun al-Rashid in 805. Also, some major institutes during this time was the School of Nisibis and the School of Edessa, which were centers of learning and transmission of classical wisdom. And there's the House of Wisdom, which was a library, a translation institute, and an academy. The House of Wisdom is actually very remarkable because it first started off as a library of wisdom under Caliph Harun al-Rashid, which included manuscripts and books collected by his father and his grandfather. 3 decades later, the collection grew to the point that his son Caliph al-Mamun built extensions and turned it into an academy named the House of Wisdom, which housed different branches of knowledge. Later, he made other study centers to allow scholars to pursue their research and an observatory in 829. Some notable researchers: Al-Kindi, who commissioned the translation of Aristotelian works; Hunyan ibn Ishaq, who translated Hippocrates' works; Banu Musa bin Shakir al-Munajim, who was an astronomer; Yahya bin Abi Mansur al-Munajim al-Mamuni, also called the Mamun astronomer; Muhammad bin Musa al-Khawarizmi, who introduced the Hindu-Arabic numerals and algebra; Sa'id bin Harun al-Khatib, also called a scribe; Sabit bin Qura. Yeah, those are some of the people who contributed a lot when it comes to research and whatnot. The languages read and spoken in the House of Wisdom were Arabic, Farsi, which was the language of the Persians, Aramaic, Hebrew, Syriac, Greek, and Latin. So actually, the House of Wisdom inspired other places to build institutes such as these. There is the Dar al-Hikmah in Cairo, which lasted for 165 years. There is also the House of Science / House of Knowledge in the eastern provinces. In the 12th century, there's one of these in Toledo in Andalusia. They translated Arabic to Latin, and a bunch of Christians, Jewish, and Muslim scholars flocked to the city to translate ancient Greek and Arabic treaties to Latin and then into European languages. Information was democratized during this time and it became possible to make a living from writing and selling books. The end of the Islamic Golden Age and of the Islamic Empire came in 1258 with the Mongolian sack of Baghdad, which was the capital during this time, but before that they were already in a rocky place due to the Inquisitors and the Crusaders. Also, there are some sources that say it officially ended in 1492 with the completion of the Christian Reconquista of the Emirate of Granada in Al Andalus in the Iberian Peninsula. But I guess more sources say it's the former, so we'll be going with that. So, moral of the story, religion is not the main cause of many bad stuff that happened. It is usually used as a tool for conquest, which would then, by law of elimination, bring the responsibility onto the leaders of that era. This is a common theme that happened before and it is still happening now, even though it's not really that obvious. So, yeah, don't be discriminative of cultures and religions. That is a part of someone's identity, and coming to the conclusion that those cultures and religions are the driving force behind their actions is not good. People have the freedom to choose what is right or wrong, regardless of what their religious or cultural affiliation is. All cultures and religions has its share of questionable history anyways. So respect it for what it is. It's a very successful civilization which brought upon much of the progress in world history, and that progress is still seen up to this date. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next